Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. You are here, and that means you are here to talk all things Babylon 5 because this is the Zocalo, and that is what we do here. I am Char. You are Norm.
I am.
And Babylon 5 lives forever, does it not?
I think so. We're going to keep
Yeah.
it alive, that's for sure.
That's right. We got to keep the flame burning, and I'm thrilled that things like Amazon Prime, even though the quality is not the greatest, Comet TV are helping us keep Babylon 5 in the consciousness, not just of sci-fi fans, but of people just generally speaking. I still hear about Babylon 5 and just kind of general pop culture conversation, whether it's on a blog or on some sort of weird sound piece, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's pretty cool for a show that's 20 something years old now.
Yeah, I think so too. But the great thing about a show like Babylon 5 is that quality never fades. And the only thing that really kind of holds Babylon 5 back, and I think we've talked about this before on our Facebook live stream before we jumped here onto the YouTube channel, is that a lot of people, they're kind of turned off by the CGI time stamping or date stamping of the time, you know, it's of a 90s quality and even kind of like on the lesser end of that.
Well, yeah, CGI has come a long way since those days. You can only fault it so much, though, and if you're not reined in by the storytelling, well, then you're just not the target market for Babylon 5. You're going to miss out on some good freaking stuff, and Babylon 5 is more relevant than ever, story-wise.
It sure is, especially now.
My husband and I are going through season 3 now for our vidcast called Babel for 5, and he's seeing all the parallels and just like, yep.
And can you imagine that this was done? Well, it's kind of like this was done, 25-ish years ago, 22 years probably to when you're doing season 3. And think about it this way. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's prophetic because history does repeat itself, but the level of similarity, the level of coincidental similarity is, I wouldn't have bet against it. I wouldn't have put odds on it. And it's pretty telling where I guess JMS's headspace is from, kind of like his Russian side.
I had not thought about that.
Yeah.
And I had also never thought that in our present day, when I was in the 90s thinking of the future, that we would be dealing with the things that we are dealing with now, thinking that's all in the past. And yes, history does repeat itself. I just didn't think it would be this soon.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the more endearing qualities and one of the qualities that separates Babylon 5, especially at the time, because at the time, Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry's mission, his vision, was to promote a future where we have moved past certain human frailties like pettiness and war and the acquisition of wealth, and not putting humanity's spirit and best foot forward into space and then allowing that to propagate itself through the United Federation of Planets. I get that. I was always on board with that.
Right. It's a great idealized version of humanity. However, humans prove time and time again, we do have these patterns. We have these horrible instincts within us that take over. And that is why Babylon 5 is the more realistic universe. And in fact, so funny you mentioned Star Trek just in this conversation, because I was having another conversation with somebody earlier today. He was saying, I was watching Star Trek The Next Generation in its day, and I thought, gosh, it's so cerebral. There were times he was just not that into it. And I said, well, if you want a real sci-fi universe, check out Babylon 5.
I think that it represents a lot of what I would say a majority of realists, I think, whether or not you're a science fiction fan or a fantasy fan, I think that there's still a fundamental belief that humanity will improve. We have improved over time. I mean, when you take a look at a century by century or millennia by millennia, if we're going all the way back to, the great dictators and conquerors of the time, your Alexander the Greats, your Napoleons, things like that.
Sure.
But then all of a sudden, things change. The way that humanity interacts with itself, tries to do better, tries to evolve, tries to be this epitome of what Gene Roddenberry wanted, this united Earth that's going to move forward and promote the best strengths of humanity. Well, I think that's well and noble, and I think that's good, and I think the intention is right. But the reality, I think, is far from the truth, because we do have a certain common thread that is repeating itself, has repeated itself. And I do believe this is what JMS believes, that it will continue to repeat itself because we're only human.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can just be a garbage species sometimes. We're awful, we're dreadful, we do horrible things. I do believe, though, that yes, we are making progress, to acknowledge your point, but it's not this linear curve. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah,
it goes in waves.
It's not causality. It's not if something great happens, then it's going to inspire more greatness. But then again,
if only it did.
We are kind of our media, and I know we're getting way off topic here, and we
really are. We're going on, but this is important.
Yeah, but there is a certain, I mean, maybe in the 1990s, and especially the late 1990s, and certainly after 9/11, there's a certain fatalist mentality that humanity kind of applied to where we are or where we're going, because at any given point in time, there's going to be these great world moments. And when I say great, I mean in terms of the way that they affect us globally, like 9/11, right, like the stock market crash of 08, like the housing market crash of 07, of which I've been watching a lot of. Believe you me, I watched the movie The Big Short. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on the housing market.
That's another show.
Yeah, that'll
be our political show.
Right. When the rent goes up on Babylon 5. But see,
the rent is too damn high.
About, right? The rent is too damn high. There's still... Anyway, so
we're in Southern California. We know all about the rent being too damn high.
Yeah, and there's the housing boom, blah 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 blah. Anyway,
right. So, anyway, maybe we ought to welcome the folks who have joined us and kindly listen to our rant. I guess it's not really a rant, but our discussion about things in general. Yeah. Hi to John Bauer Socks and to Brandon Cowles. Thank you for joining us, guys. Good to see you.
It's been a while since Brandon's with us. So hey, Brandon, what's happening?
Yeah, good to see you, buddy.
Brandon, big Star Trek fan. He's been following, I think, the both of us since we've been on Trek FM.
That long? Oh my God.
So.
That's ancient history in internet terms.
Brandon was following me because he's a big Enterprise fan. So he was following me on Warp 5.
That's where I know the name, but you got me thinking that far back, and man, that was a long time ago now. Oh my God.
As far as I remember also, like we're friends on Facebook. I think he's a cheesehead. So being a Green Bay fan.
A cheesehead. Nice.
Yeah, I think it's a cheesehead. So correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon. Yeah. Anywho,
I say that with love. I have nothing against the Packers.
Let's get this toast going and let's get this party started. So Val 2 to everyone.
Val 2 to cheeseheads.
Who's watching and who's going to watch? Who's going to watch?
Correct. We do hope that if you are watching and you're not subscribed already, please do that and get the bell thing on, because then if you forget that we're on at 7 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday night, you'll get a notification saying, hey, go watch Char and Norm, and you should.
We are kind of like at the beginning stages of this whole YouTube experiment, and
still young.
Yeah, and we're still young, and we're getting a lot more. When I say a lot more, when I say, there's if we get one watcher and we get another watcher, that's like a 200% increase.
Hey,
in a day.
It's all right. So, every little one, every viewer counts.
Right.
Especially in a very diehard community like Babylon 5. There's not millions of fans of this show out there, but those of us who are into it are really into it.
Right. Now, if we really wanted to and kind of like usurp and manipulate the algorithm, we could probably throw in some hashtags like Game of Thrones or Marvel Studios or blah, 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 in some way, shape, or form, kind of like convoluted all the way back to Babylon 5. I don't think we should. I think we should.
No, we really shouldn't. That's like clickbait. That's just annoying.
That's right. That is clickbait.
Sorry. No, Babylon 5 diehards. Although, if you're a Star Trek fan, you're in for a treat today, because our topic is Star Trek actors we wanted, or, in some weird dream sequences, we're going to envision them on Babylon 5. Who would they play?
Right.
And you and I talked, Norm, like, are we going to do just guest spots, or are we going to have main characters? Nothing is off limits.
Right.
And you and I have both made a list. You don't know my picks. I don't know yours.
Right.
And so this should be a lot of fun. And those of you who are watching, we want to know your picks too. So as we're talking, put them out there. Let us know what you think of ours, and then share yours as well. And that's going to be our hour.
I threw a personal caveat and challenge to myself. I don't know if you did the same thing.
What did you do?
I said, none of the actors or actresses that I have chosen have ever made any appearance of any kind, of any form in Babylon 5. So
nice.
for example, say Tony Todd appeared in Third Space, and he also played, we knew that he played Kern, and we played the Elder Jake and the Visitor and Deep Space Nine.
So good.
Right. So, but he also played the captain of in Third Space, not Third Space, in A Call to Arms.
You're right. Yeah, he played that captain. He's got his family, yada yada.
Right. So even though that he didn't appear in Babylon 5 proper or Crusade, in a way, he was kind of like right in the middle, I felt that we already saw him in the universe.
That's fair. Okay.
Right.
And you know what's funny is I did not consider that as criteria for my list, but I did the same thing. I did people who have not, as far as I remember, have not been on the show.
Right. And I think that's a little bit more fun. With the exception
of one honorable mention, but we'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah. So the other things that I did, I wrote a little bit of some personal histories for him because that's what we do. And it'll be fun to see where we slot these characters in the universe, and specifically sometimes in seasons.
Ooh. Yes, because these could be recurring guest characters.
That's right. I would like. So we got on this topic because in the last show, when we were talking about the not main cast of somewhat recurring characters or guest stars, there were a lot of Star Trek alumni that already appeared on Babylon 5, such as Majel Barrett Roddenberry, Judson Scott. You know, he was Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. He was
he was Joachim.
Yeah, exactly. There were Robin Curtis. Trisha
O'Neill.
Trisha O'Neill, right? She was in a variety of different roles, I believe, in Babylon 5.
She did several on Star Trek and Babylon 5.
Rachel Garrett, the best character, though.
The best and the best captain. My favorite Enterprise ship, by the way, is the Enterprise C.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah, that's just a perfect little ship. I just love the heck out of it.
Yeah.
I would love an Enterprise C series if CBS is listening.
And another thing was the great. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, he's the everyman. Like, we see him everywhere. You know,
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. Thank you very much. See,
that's my honorable mention. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, but he was Harriman Gray in Eyes, and he obviously is all over Star Trek. You know, I loved him as Shran on Enterprise. I know.
Me too.
Brandon, you did too. But he was also he was the Vorta in.
Yes, he was
in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, he did all sorts of stuff. I said in my honorable mention for Jeffrey Combs, he's just somebody in every episode because he's everywhere.
Yeah. Wayun.
Wayun.
You know who also starred he was head of the Night Watch security force. He took over, he basically ousted Garibaldi out of power, and then he bossed around the rest of the security, excluding Zach. That was what's his name? Forrest, Admiral Forrest. But
why do I want to say
you know what I'm talking about, though,
Von
right?
Armstrong.
Von Armstrong.
He was Admiral Forrest.
Yeah.
I almost said Forrest Whitaker, and I knew that was wrong.
I was like Admiral Forrest because he was named after DeForest Kelley. You know, so.
Right. So a lot of crossover, and so now we're just going to exaggerate that with a wish list that'll never happen, but hypothetical is fun.
Yeah, and now you can throw that kind of like into your headcanon if you like read a book or if you watch an episode and say like,
totally.
So could have been there or out there.
Could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we've already got some stuff in the comments. So let's read about Brandon's wish, which is John Delancey as a villain. Oh yeah, of course.
John Delancey. Yeah. You know, John Delancey
he was great as Q.
Would you, okay, so in your picks, did you try to subvert your expectations or the audience's expectations for your picks?
Throw them
against Pat, throw them against
Type? I kind of went with what's going to be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I take it maybe you went that way, though?
Yes and no. I think they are a good fit, but it's because their range is so good.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, like, say John Delancey, I would love to see John Delancey somewhere in, like, the Technomage arena.
Oh, he would. Oh my gosh. You know how I hate the exaggeration of technomages? John Delancey would blow that up and make it so over the top that it'd either be really good or really bad. And that's not to say he's a bad actor.
But that's the risk you take with somebody that good. And
yes.
I wouldn't say like every single appearance and performance of Q is fantastic. Some are amazing.
Yeah,
they're there, but
some are better than others.
Yeah, but maybe if you used him sparingly as a technomage, like say
maybe
someone that Galen had to report to, who's going to out theatrically act that scene?
I would have loved it if he and Galen got into it because that would have been fun.
Yes, exactly.
That would have been fun. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, he says, or Brandon says, he could have been good with the Psychor too, playing against Walter. Maybe now that would be a different kind of devious, and that'd be a little more serious. And I know from Breaking Bad that John Delancey can play serious.
Oh yeah.
He's a very good, well-rounded actor. I think he would knock that out of the park.
Yeah. Because he does play. He has a great sense of like natural cunning and
Yes,
shiftiness to him.
he
But that's
does.
because that impishness of Q
Mm-hmm.
is always there, and his voice is very recognizable.
It is. It is. Yeah.
You know?
So that's a cool pick. I like it. But Norm,
Mhm.
I want to know your pick. Like, I
Okay.
don't know if you have them ranked from top for your most favorite to least favorite. I don't have mine in any particular order.
I kind of do, but kind of don't. So I'm going to go with something. I'm going to go with some. Okay. So I'm going to be completely 100% honest. My favorite, I love Babylon 5. You know, I do. It's my favorite science fiction show of all time. Probably my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
But a majority, if not the overwhelming majority of my picks are all actors or actresses that have come from Deep Space Nine.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, there's a big pool there for one.
Exactly. But I was able to see a lot of really good performances that were inspiring. So my very first choice for an actor that I wanted to see in in Deep Space Nine, in Babylon 5, is J.G. Hertzler.
Oh, great pick.
General
now, who would he
Martok.
play?
So I had him. I have everyone broken down to an affiliation. So he was going to play a Narn, like a Narn ambassador or delegate, because he's so good behind makeup, acting wise.
Yes, very much.
And I said that it's possible that he could have played Talon's either father or someone who was his benefactor from the Kari that was never found. Like he was. I have it. I said I always wanted to see JG act with Andreas. I said, I think that they are both so heavily trained in the theatrical performance arts, they would have been able to create many great scenes together. Perhaps JG was one of the Kari that actually did survive, much like the U.S. government's designated survivor.
Ooh. Oh, I love that vision of those two.
Right.
Playing off each other. Holy crap. The power.
Right. So I wanted to find a way to fit him into Talon's storyline, because where did Talon kind of like learn this great sense of honor and dignity and nobility? And Martok was the first thing that came to my mind. Right.
So therefore, Talon's father makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Or like an uncle or some type of benefactor, somebody that was responsible for teaching Talon the ways of the honorable Narn.
I love it so much. That's so good.
Cool. Thanks. How about you? We'll go back and forth.
Well, the very first person I thought of for my pick was Martha Hackett as Deathwalker.
Okay, so I don't know Martha Hackett.
Okay, so Martha Hackett played the villain Seska on Voyager, which you have not seen, but she was a recurring villain. She was a Maquis officer on Voyager.
She's the blonde, right?
No, not the blonde. That's 7 of 9 or Kess.
Didn't Seska like didn't she sabotage like the engineering section or something like that?
I mean, she did a lot of things.
I knew she was Maquis.
Sabotage could have been one of them. Yes. I mean, she defected to the Kazon in Voyager's earlier years and kind of helped them to not destroy but take down Voyager with Maj Kola. So she plays a devious villain. She's pretty smart, but she's really quick to act without really thinking on it, and played a really interesting character who ultimately died. But I think she had the nice presence to give a good performance as Deathwalker. Now, there's nothing wrong at all with the way Sarah Douglas, who did play Deathwalker, there's nothing wrong with her performance. There's not a particular reason why I'm saying this character or this actor or what have you. It's just maybe Sarah Douglas didn't get the role in the audition, or she got committed to something else. My scenario is just, okay, here's the backup. Here's who else would work in these roles if, say, things just didn't work out. So knowing that Martha Hackett can play a good villain and knowing that she is no stranger to the makeup, I thought for a guest role, especially a one-off, great. Let's put her in.
Super cool. I do remember her. I remember she was kind of when you're going to have to forgive me because I
That's
just
okay.
don't know Voyager like you know Voyager.
It's okay.
But I do remember that the two crews had to merge together. The
Right.
Maquis
Starfleet
crew,
and Maquis.
right? And then Chakotay was the leader of the Maquis, became the first officer of Voyager.
Correct.
Right. And then Seska, did she keep her hair pulled back in like a bun?
Yeah, a bun-like thing. Yes, and she was in engineering, and as John Bowersox pointed out, the sabotage thing, it was a replicator. That kind of like blew up, and it caused problems.
But didn't she feel slighted because B'Elanna was giving command of engineering over her?
I don't think it was that so much as just that there was a situation early on where they found technology that could fold space and potentially get them home. And Janeway nor B'Elanna was going to kind of like do what they had to do to steal it because the alien race they were dealing with wasn't going to give it to them.
I did see that
home because she just thought the situation sucked. She wanted to get the heck out of the Delta Quadrant.
Right.
Yeah.
This is all first season, right?
First season.
Yeah. I did see most of the first season. Okay.
Okay. So you know who Seska is. She also played a Romulan on DS9.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. No stranger to sci-fi, no stranger to makeup, none of that. She's very good.
Okay. So from what I understand now, the way that we approached our lists, did you approach lists of actors to replace certain characters that have been on Babylon 5 already?
Yeah, I didn't make up new characters.
Okay. I did, but that's because I like.
That's okay.
Just that's in my headspace.
That's okay. That's totally allowed. Babylon 5 is a big universe.
So speaking of the Dilgar, I have my next pick goes into the Dilgar.
Okay, do it.
Yeah. So we're gonna go, and it actually does kind of spin off Deathwalker since it's the only real reference of the Dilgar that we got.
Yeah.
So check this out. So remember how great the makeup is, or the makeup was on Sarah Douglas, and they look almost kind of like wolf-like and very feral, the Dilgar. So my next pick, everyone brace yourselves out there. My next pick as a Dilgar, Mark Alemo, Gul Dukat as a Dilgar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I considered Mark Alemo for some kind of role, and ultimately he did not make my list, but he needs to be on this show, so I'm glad you picked him.
So I wanted to see more, like there are a lot of my picks are kind of like, why weren't these storylines continued? And I wanted to see them subverted a little bit. So I wanted to see a male Dilgar since we never saw one. We only saw a female Dilgar. And I wanted to make him some type of Dilgar intelligence sleeper agent that continued Jador's research. Like that couldn't be the only thing. Like, somewhere along the line, whatever happened to her because she got basically vaporized by the Vorlon, she sent out a transmission that activated the next Dilgar in the sleeper cell that continued the work.
Ooh, I like it.
Right?
So what season do you think this would take place in?
Probably more like season 3 or maybe season 4, where, say, for instance, Clark got a hold of this technology, and there are reasons why his forces weren't being depleted. It's because they were using the anti-agapic in a way to create immortal soldiers that were like piloting those Omega-class destroyers, Warlock destroyers with shadow technology.
Yeah.
Right?
Those things are so vicious. Ugh.
But imagine them with immortal crews.
No. That's all I have to say to that. So kill him now.
But could you imagine that's the cell that Alemo would give in his performance there with Clark and with maybe with Morden?
Cold as ice. I mean, he would be more dangerous than Clark in terms of delivery. He'd give you a chill down your spine you would never forget.
But that's the thing, is that you wanted to see Jador's master plan kind of continue to develop over time where you least expected it. And it became put into the hands of Clark. Now Clark has shadow technology, Dilgar technology, and Earth Alliance, the Earth Force behind him. That's like, what? Really?
Evil.
Yeah.
Evil. And I don't think Deathwalker would be too happy about the outcome of this either.
No, but it's just, she had to keep this thing alive, and obviously
it's her legacy.
It's her legacy, but from the grave, she doesn't know how it was going to be perverted or improved upon. And she probably would be upset, like, wow, you took this to a whole new level.
Right,
like,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, if only she could speak from the grave, right? Like, how dare you? Look at what you've done. This is not what I hoped for.
But in a good way, right?
Well, depending on how you see it, I suppose.
So that was my second pick for a special guest appearance, maybe
cool.
several.
So before I go with my second pick, I want to do a comment from John Bowersox. I would take DeForest Kelley as a doctor. He may be a disgruntled doctor. He could be a really great friend who would do anything for his friends, even if he had to break the rules. That's true. That could make an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
In the rules that you're playing by, it would have been interesting. Maybe what if he was the one that was running the alien healing device?
Yeah. Right? Oh, I mean, that would be really cool. Because a person willing to break rules, well, what does that entail? You could explore some things with that.
But D's so big, though. I mean, his name's so big.
He is. He's, in our circles, he's larger than life. Like a little guest role, he would bring so much to it that I don't think he would stop at one episode, honestly. I mean, it would be so good. We would be clamoring for more, and especially because, D. Kelley, of course we want to see him.
Right.
But would he be a great fit for that role? Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, D is very...
Sorry, Dr. Laura.
Yeah. But he plays, just like June Lockhart, they both play very human characters very well, like characters that just generally do care. They just have to make the best out of a bad situation.
They will do the wrong things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Was it June Lockhart or Anne? No, her daughter's Anne Lockhart. It's June Lockhart. I think I'm right about that. Right?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was June Lockhart.
Okay. So my second pick, speaking of big names, we're going to go for a really big name here.
Go for it.
Okay. Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
In one of two roles, either Aldous Gaiich, originally played by David Warner.
Nice.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
Or as David McIntyre, the guy who thought he was King Arthur, originally played by Michael York. Another big name. Let's say Michael York had to pull it out at the last minute. Patrick Stewart is just coming off of TNG. Maybe he's available. Can we get him?
Their horses are on fire.
Right. I mean, maybe it's just the accent, and maybe it's just like Patrick Stewart's Shakespearean background that would make me gravitate him toward these kind of roles. But I could see him making a really special appearance in either of these roles and blowing us away.
Well, he at one point in time were contemporaries of both of those actors, Michael York and David Warner.
Truth.
And not to discredit Sir Patrick in any way, but if it weren't for TNG, he would have been of a certain type of actor, in Great Britain.
Absolutely.
He probably would have gotten a role like this.
Well, that's just it. I mean, the fact that he blew up so much as Captain Picard kind of elevated his stature, right? But if he had been just a grand Shakespearean actor from the UK and we were none the wiser, we would have left him on Babylon 5.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, I mean, in that mode of training, that totally justifies it. I was feeling like maybe that was too big, but you know what? No, it's not.
No, and I personally would have liked to have seen him as McIntyre, just because Patrick Stewart plays wounded so well.
He does.
Just tragically wounded and haunted.
Yep. So he would certainly just, kick that thing out of the park.
Yeah, John Bowersox says, well, Patrick Stewart would be really great. He has the acting chops. That is
without a doubt. Right? We all know just how good of an actor Sir Patrick Stewart is. Anything you throw his way, he's got it.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Well, what is your next pick?
Okay, so I'm going to go with my first actress choice. And it's just because I love her as an actress so much. I think she's just so brilliant, and I don't think she gets nearly enough work. I don't know why. I don't know how politics or how the situation with her age. I don't know anything about how she gets her roles. All I know is that the one role that she did get the very first time I saw her, I loved. And then she ended up playing Admiral Kane in Battlestar Galactica in Razor. And then she ended up playing a really cool character in Orphan Black. And I'm talking about Michelle Forbes, who played Ensign Ro on The Next Generation. And
funny you should mention that. Brandon Cowles just said, what about Michelle Forbes as something?
Look at that, Brandon. You're the man. Good taste. You got good taste.
Yeah.
Now, what I wanted to see out of her, because she's so buttoned up and sharp and very, I mean, she has great presence, right? You know, I wouldn't say that she can't play bubbly, but she's not a bubbly-esque figure. You know, when she walks in, she like cuts her way through the room. Especially when I saw her in Battlestar Galactica's, it was kind of like a one-off movie, like a TNT style movie. It was called Razor. And she played Admiral Kane of one of the Battlestars that survived the annihilation of the colonies. And she was brilliant. And I love those type of characters. And I wanted to see her in two possible roles. One, what I loved about Babylon 5 season 1 and what we didn't get enough of in the later seasons were the senators, the oversight committees, right? And I we saw Senator Hadoshi, we saw Senator this, Senator that, but I really wanted her to play a senator in charge clandestinely of the Night Watch program.
Ooh, you're gonna make her a bad guy, ew.
Right? So,
but she would chew the scenery with that.
But we wouldn't know it until JMS flipped the script and then turned her into something. Like when Night Watch like fell apart, you would see her like turn around, swivel around in her chair. Then all of a sudden, like Bester was there, or Morden was there, or she had to like something happened, and all of a sudden she had to report to Clark and like, why did this fail? She was also in charge of kind of like the political wing, the political arm. So she was in charge of like someone say like the Julie Masante. Is that her name?
What is it? Basante? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but the lady from the Ministry of Peace to oversee. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
compliance, essentially.
Exactly. So I wanted her to be kind of in charge of those assets.
You know what? She would have been great in that role.
Yeah, that too. In that role. Yeah. Almost very.
I would have loved to have hated her in that role.
I don't want to say this too sexistly, but it would have been a very good Black Widow role for her.
Mm-hmm.
In that type of noir type of just dangerous liaison type of character. But I also like seeing her kind of like, again, swivel around in a chair, just really buttoned up, sharp suit, short hair, like, Lance in a row.
Right. Yeah, just minus an earring, maybe.
Yeah. And the nose appliance, and but I just love her. She portrays a great strength of character without having to force it. Right.
Yeah.
It's just who she is.
It's very natural.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So
it's who she is. And she's a freaking workaholic. I'm almost surprised that she was never on Babylon 5.
I also had one small other idea. So if that didn't work out, I said a deep space exploration captain, perhaps a silent partner of Catherine Sakai's, because I wanted to see Catherine Sakai's business kind of continue.
Of course.
The Quantium 40 cover story is kind of like her, like I guess like her guise of going into as IPX to help smuggle religious artifacts from distant and abandoned worlds or dead civilizations and bring those relics to President Clark for his staff to reverse engineer the technology, all of the way that Hitler did with his search for kind of these antiquities that supposedly he believed would bring him greater power, like the Ark or the Holy Grail, like Indiana Jones.
Wow. I mean, she could have done any or all of these roles.
Like a super really evil Vash.
For real, though.
Right?
For real. Oh, man. Yeah. I really kind of I wish she would have been on the show. I wish it would have happened. More bravade.
I'm doing a lot of fist pumping too. I don't know why. It's just a fist pumping day.
Okay. So, that's cool though.
All right. So that's kind of like me chewing up the time here. What about you, Char? This is your third pick. Tres.
Oh, John Bauer Socks. You are reading my mind, sir. He brings up Rosalind Chow as Keiko. That was going to be my next pick.
I was thinking.
Not kidding. My pick for Rosalind Chow would be as Captain Hiroshi in Severed Dreams.
Oh, great choice.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm an Asian actress, memorable to us in the sci-fi circle, but this gives her something different to do than how we normally see her.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know she's busy on DS9, but this is a one-off appearance. She could have just come in for a couple of days, shot her scenes, and be done with it. totally could have happened. I would have loved it if it would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing wrong with Kim Miori, who did play Hiroshi, but I think this would have maybe given us a little bit more of just Rosalind Chow as an actress, something, a different angle, more dynamic, even with one appearance.
I think that she would have been awesome at it. And I think that would have given us a different look at Rosalind Chow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think that maybe she would have actually been given a little bit more screen time, because I don't think that Kim was given enough screen. I mean, she was given great screen time, but not enough screen time.
Do you suppose the name recognition, maybe she would have gotten a few more lines? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I think so. I mean, there was the scene where they were saying that, her ship was breaking up, and all you heard was Bruce McGill saying, Hiroshi, and she. Right.
And then it's over the intercom.
Yeah. But I think you would have been able to get like a little bit more of like a visual heads up display of the ship breaking up and finally seeing it,
Ooh. Yeah. I always wanted to see, for whatever like gross reason, just like things are breaking up on the bridge of that ship and everything is on fire. And then and we actually see her say what she says over the intercom, there's nothing left to do, but, and then it cuts out. We cut back to Sheridan and General Haig, and it does Hiroshi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And actually it wasn't General Haig. He wasn't there, right?
No, it was Major
Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I forgot Captain or the other guy was doing DS9 as the bloopers state. So more crossover. Right.
And I love Bruce McGill. And it's kind of like, remember we were talking about in the last show, like how there were some characters that were introduced earlier on, like Lou Welch, like General Haig, all these characters that didn't really get a continuation of the story. So Zach picked it up for Lou, Major Ryan picked it up for Haig, this, that, and the other thing. There were other characters like that too.
Yeah. John Bowersox has another great pick. Michael Dorn. Maybe this is a good day to die. Do you suppose he'd be a ranger?
No, I think Dorn would have been really cool. This is going against type. I think it would have been really cool as like a heavy and down below.
Oh. Oh, that could be interesting. And we wouldn't have to put him in makeup, and maybe that's why he would agree to do the role.
Yeah, because just let him. I've always liked seeing directors pick actors that everyone knows are great actors, actresses, or people that are, in the business, and then pull them out of what they believe they're good at and challenging him to do something else. Like I was watching Good Will Hunting the other day, and I'm so enamored with Robin Williams in this role as a therapist, because up until that point, it was just wacky, zany Robin Williams.
Yeah, but he's such a good dramatic actor.
And most comedians, I believe, take that turn. They access, I think, more emotional content and ride the line harder.
Oh, absolutely. Because their comedy has to come from a somewhat painful place.
Yeah. Yeah. And they risk a lot.
Absolutely. It's not a lifestyle for the weak. That's for sure. Right. You're very lucky if you manage to actually have a career. But Robin Williams was the full package. He was an incredible dramatic actor and didn't really get that credit, though, until I'd say the 90s. I mean, I remember watching Mrs. Doubtfire. And Robin Williams, I wanted to go see it because Robin Williams in it. And yes, it was funny and it had its good moments, but it's also a very serious story about divorce.
Right. Mrs. Doubtfire, Fisher King, Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah. All of that.
Still with some comedy bits in there, but when he really wanted to turn the chops. So that's what I was talking about earlier on. Like, did you make picks that would subvert people's expectations even now?
Yeah.
Since you slotted them into characters that we're already familiar with.
Yeah, so really, no, I don't think I really did. I think I played more to strengths and what we would consider, oh yeah, that's a good role for that person. We know that person can do that.
But I think that Rosalind Chow brings a completely different energy to, would have brought a different energy to that role. And I do think that because her name was bigger, that she probably would have gotten a little bit more screen time. Maybe she would have been able to negotiate that.
Maybe. And that would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen more of that character. Especially knowing how short-lived she was.
Right. But good, a good character though.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 1 and 2. These were my top 2 picks. They've always wanted to see both of these performers.
All right. Do it.
Actor or actress. And it's hard for me to choose which one. So I'm just going to go with my second to last choice, which is going to be my second choice.
Okay.
Louise Fletcher.
As?
Okay, so we know Louise Fletcher is Kai Wynn.
Yes.
Right? In Deep Space Nine. And every single time that she appears on that series, I cannot take my eyes off her.
And yet you want to punch her in the face. She's just so good.
But she's brilliant. And
yeah.
she's that type of character. And we see this on Babylon 5. It's kind of like Bester, right? She and Bester are very similar in very, very many ways because they believe what they're doing is the right thing to do for the people that they are serving.
Correct.
Right? Now, their means and their methods and their subversion of the truth or the way that they maneuver people and manipulate people to get to their end goal, that's a different thing.
Yeah. Little less than savory, for sure.
Right. But you can't help but just admire their zealotry, their purpose of doing what they do and the acting that they bring to it. So I wanted Louise Fletcher to be and continue the storyline from Believers. And I wanted her to be an ambassador to Babylon 5 for the children of the egg, because the point of that episode was they had no representation on the station.
Okay. So would she be in the episode Believers, or would this be after what happened in Believers?
This would be after Believers. Okay. And she held either a technology, a resource, or something that the station needed in order to help turn the tide against the shadows, and she withheld it because of spite.
Ooh, revenge for what Dr. Franklin did.
Exactly. Well, what Franklin was forced to do, right? But I wanted all of these things to happen, and I wanted her to make people like Kai Wen did jump through hoops so severely to see, like, how badly do you want it?
Could you imagine Dr. Franklin and this character go head to head?
Totally.
Louise Fletcher and Richard Biggs going at it. Oh, that's a death match.
Right.
Oh, right. Because Franklin will, from head to toe, defend his position.
Right.
I did what I thought was best at the time. And then she will argue her point just as powerfully, and sparks will fly.
But see, when she comes in, she's making all of these great alliances with all of the major races, with Londo, with Jakar. Everyone's on her side. And then all of a sudden, when the negotiating table is at its peak, when everything needed to be signed off for, and it's like, you know what, whatever you're going to provide for us is going to help us turn the tide against the shadows in sector whatever, or at Coriana 6 or whatever.
14.
Like, right. This is kind of like the Deathwalker moment where, okay, you can have all this, just give me Dr. Franklin.
And Sheridan can't do that.
Exactly. So, okay.
Oh, wicked.
But think about her delivering that. Think about Louise Fletcher delivering that, right?
Oh.
Just the sublime quality of the malicious intent is just so delicious to her, to watch her do that, like the way she did with the Pa Wraiths, and
oh yeah,
so good, right?
Dang, yeah. And then I want to twist something John Barsocks just said about D. Kelly as our replacement for Dr. Laura. I would love for that character to give Louise Fletcher's character the smackdown. Now, granted, he's meaning as replacing Dr. Franklin, and those two can be at it. I would love the third party to intervene, give her the ass kicking that Franklin cannot provide.
What?
Because his hands are tied.
What if she was like Sean's godmother?
Ooh.
Right?
Personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that. I see that happening. Oh, that would probably be one of the best episodes, or, best arcs of Babylon 5. It would just be, it'd get you so boiled up.
And she can do it too. You
absolutely.
You want to punch your TV when she does her thing. Right?
So many broken TVs.
Right?
Oh my God.
But that's why, she's just, and I've always loved Louise Fletcher, all the way back to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Brainstorm, the movies in the 1970s. 60s,
yeah,
70s.
so good.
So
she's, she never got enough credit as an actress. She just did everything with brilliance.
Nurse Ratchet's probably one of the best.
Yeah, that's what she's best known for.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, oh, let's see her. I mean, I always thought that she played Kaiwyn just so brilliantly, and I just wanted to see her appear on Babylon 5.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Oh, so good.
Right.
All right. Speaking of DS9, I'll go to my next pick here. Andrew Robinson, who we all know as Garrett. He had to be on my list. I had to find something for him. And the place I put him was as Lorien.
Interesting.
Yeah, originally played by Wayne Alexander, who delivered great, but why not? Mm-hmm. I can see Andrew Robinson kind of bringing out the mystical aspect of the role, just as Wayne Alexander did. I just lost my ability to speak. Andrew Robinson would be no stranger to the makeup, and I can envision him saying Lorien's words, but like his voice fits, you know? So I just thought, that's probably the best thing I can think of for him.
Seeing him in the makeup at
we wouldn't know it was him though.
Right, but I mean, like seeing him at the bottom of Z'ha'dum when he's kind of like trying to suss out Sheridan, and then there's that whole surrender yourself to talk. And he asks him all these questions, but it's kind of like I always loved how Garrett always asked a question where he knew he was leading into the next question to get the answer that it wasn't the answer that he wanted. It was the answer he knew he was going to get out of somebody, that he just wanted people to admit it.
So in that kind of a sense, I mean, that kind of fits with Lorien.
Oh, totally. It's just that his eyes are so piercingly like haunting, right? When he just looks at you, like in the pale moonlight, right? Arguably like one of the best episodes of Deep Space Nine, and some consider the best.
Yeah, certainly one of the most powerful, if nothing else.
Right there, the revelation where he says, you know what, all it took to get the Romulans into the war was the death of a Romulan senator and the honor of a Starfleet captain. And he just kind of like, he has that sideways look, you're just like, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah.
And everyone knows you're right.
Now, this is kind of like, this is a different turn where this is a very different kind of character. But Andrew Robinson is a capable actor. I think he would bring brilliance to it.
Totally. I mean, I like the pick because it subverts our expectation for Lorien of how we know Lorien, of how we know Wayne Alexander playing Lorien. Right? Because I always felt that Lorien I like his makeup and stuff like that, and I can see Andrew wearing it, but it's like Lorien was always for a first one, very kind of almost too peaceful, maybe, like too tranquil.
Yeah.
And I think that Andrew Robinson, just his eyes alone, just present just a slight hint of danger.
That he's been through some things.
Yeah,
he's seen a lot in his day. As a first one, he's been around for ever.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that adds a different quality that I think would work great.
And there's the one scene where I can't remember what he said, but like Garibaldi said something and Lorien started laughing, and Garibaldi was like, "You find this funny?" And I can just see him shoot the look like Garrett shoots the look at people, right? Or Andrew.
But in the Lorien makeup, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. Just a great pick in general, because he's just brilliant. And
he's talented. We got to get him on the show somehow. Totally. So there we go.
I thought you were actually going to go differently with him. I thought you were actually going to like slot him into somebody like Morden.
Oh, now that could be menacing, sure. But no, that never occurred to me.
But the thing is, with him outside of the Garrett makeup, what worked in Ed Wasser's favor was that Ed Wasser had a really good, slick used car salesman look about him.
He did.
Right?
Now, honestly, I've not seen Andrew Robinson out of makeup that much. So I have no idea what he looks like under a whole lot of that stuff. I'm going to have to go onto IMDb and look it up now. Would he have that kind of smarminess to him to get away with being a Morden?
Not in the same sense, but that really all depends on like how he interprets the character, and if we can kind of like reverse what we know, what's within our mind, in our heart, that we know of Morden.
True.
Morden is kind of like because, and we're going to have to do this eventually, and maybe this might be our next topic of conversation for the show, but there are a lot of Lord of the Rings references made in Babylon 5, and Morden is kind of like he's taken from an idea that the evil that's in Middle Earth would appear to different races like the elves or the dwarves or the humans as like this beautiful, very picturesque, statuesque type of character, and Sauron did that in order to trick the elves into making the rings of power for him. And Morden was like that. He was very just kind of like, hey, what's going on? You know?
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So I went onto IMDb and I'm looking up Andrew Robinson now. He would be an older Morden.
Yeah.
Which might actually work a little bit for the used car salesman aspect, because it's usually some old, semi-creepy looking guy. Hate to say. Yeah. Sorry, used car salesman, but that's the stereotype. And in every stereotype, there is a grain of truth. Yeah. So maybe that would work in his favor, and then just like removing what we know of Morden. I mean, he would find a way to make it work. Absolutely.
Another thing that would be really challenging, and like since we're doing this right now, is like taking the main cast and recasting them with actors of the time, not for like a new project.
Because we already did a reboot.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would be fun too.
All right. So I believe you have one more pick.
Number one pick. Always wanted to see him. Number one pick. Get? Wild Bill Sadler. Luther Sloan from Deep Space Nine, amongst other things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Doing
Soul Hunter.
Nice.
Right. So I know this is weird, but one of my all-time favorite roles of Bill Sadler's, and it's not a Star Trek role as much as I love Luther Sloan.
Okay.
It's Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Nice.
Right?
And I love it.
It's great because like he's in this makeup and he's playing the Grim Reaper, and all of a sudden he has these funny lines like, "You'll sink my battleship," like it's just weird, but very believable. And he has great acting talent, and I love him in all of his roles. I loved him as the sheriff in Roswell. I loved him in Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. Bill Sadler to me can do no wrong. But I would love to have seen him like join the ranks of like W. Morgan Shepherd and Martin Sheen as the Soul Hunter, and just have that makeup on him and just kind of like,
oh man, yeah,
right.
And those eyes would just pierce through the camera. I mean, he would have a really exceptional look to him.
He had, and that's why I was thinking of Death. I'm like, he is good with the robes. He's just good. He has a great presence to him. And I didn't want him to play another human. I was thinking like, oh, maybe he could be Psychor, maybe he could be a Badmiral, but like, nah.
Yeah, sure, but
but let's really kind of push him a little bit. Like, I'd never in a million years would have like seen Martin Sheen as a Soul Hunter, and he worked.
Right,
he worked. Not my favorite choice of a Soul Hunter, but it did work.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, but I do think that somewhere along the line, I would have liked to have seen, and this is obviously going to have be out like after third space. Maybe the Soul Hunters would have been there, and he would have been in charge of somebody, some team that would have been harvesting souls either at Coriana 6 or after the battle for Earth, at the Civil War. Maybe he was there to collect Ivanova's soul.
Ooh, only, the whole thing that happened after that, it didn't quite work out.
Wouldn't that have been cool? Like Marcus battling against him for the, it's like you're not going to take her.
Oh my God.
Think about this, Char. Okay. So this is where he appears. Like, Marcus, he flies off, he learns about the alien healing device, but at the same time though, this Soul Hunter's going for her. She's like, he wants to preserve.
Yeah. So my God. He's got to fight him off, save Ivanova, get to Babylon 5, find the alien healing device, hook the damn thing up, and then lose his life to save hers. Oh, so much drama.
Right. And then like right there, like the best thing about this is that you don't have to have like a fight. It's like, how convicted is Marcus to give up his life to save hers? Because the entire time that Soul Hunter's there, like just grilling him. Right? It's like, how strong is your conviction? And all of a sudden, like Marcus is talking about stuff like he's regretting his thing, he's regretting his life, losing his brother, joining the Rangers, blah, 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 blah. At the same time, though, he's just letting his life force bleed into Ivanova, holding off the Soul Hunter.
I mean, as if what we saw was not intense enough. You're adding 100% onto that.
And then Bill Sadler there being like the whole, I'm just here to collect her because she's a soul worth collecting.
Damn.
And Marcus is like, I'm not going to give her to you. And then he can't get either of them because Marcus isn't really dead. He's in cryo. Ivanova lives, and the Soul Hunter has to F off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. She's as much as she's worth collecting as a soul, she's also that much worth saving. Arr. Ooh,
So
wicked,
good.
wicked. Rawr. I love it. That's so good.
All right,
That
you're
is
up.
intense, though, man. I gotta cool off. Whew. Okay, so I got one more pick.
All right.
And that this is probably my biggest one because I am recasting, I guess, a regular cast member, which I've not done up to this point.
All right.
So, how about Jeri Ryan, who played 7 of 9 as Talia Winters?
I like that pick.
Because,
that
okay,
pick.
I mean, Andrea did fine in the role, but I would argue that Jeri Ryan is a more dynamic actress. I think about what she would bring to the role of a telepath, and it intrigues me because, like the way Patricia Tallman developed a thing, like when she's doing telepathic things, exercising her abilities, she has a certain look to her, a certain intensity. I feel like Jeri Ryan would have adapted a similar kind of a thing, her own methodology of that. And she would have been a real quality member of the cast. And if she had not left, what would have happened? I mean, would we have seen Talia and Ivanova grow in their relationship? What would have ultimately happened to that character? Would have been great to find out.
I think that the interesting dynamic here is that how do you think, and I think it's a great pick, by the way, because I mean,
Thanks.
Jeri Ryan is a fantastic actress. I think that
Absolutely.
she's far more than I think people give her credit for, because obviously there's this whole stigma about her as 7 of 9, the tight cat suit, get the ratings up in Voyager, blah, 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 blah.
Sure, but she's
right.
so much more than that.
Right, and I agree. But how do you think that her relationship as an actress and her on-screen chemistry with Claudia would have been?
That's a really good question. I have a feeling maybe they would have gotten along, but I don't know if they'd be the best of buddies off screen. But then I don't know. The ladies over the years have bonded on Babylon 5. She might just be one of the gals if she had always been there. I don't know.
I think that her turn when Lita started inserting the code word to activate the sleeper agent, I think that Jeri Ryan's turn, I think that her performance would have been a little darker, and I think that would have worked a little better for me.
Yeah, I think we would have seen just how evil this whole plot was.
Oh.
I mean, not that Andrea Thompson did a bad job, but I think we would have gotten a level further with somebody who has a ginormous freaking range who can do anything.
It would have been interesting also to see her work with Jeri, because being
would she have married him?
Yeah, naturally attracted, because with Andrea and Jeri being naturally attracted to each other, and the history there. But
I don't know if that would have gone down, honestly, but I don't know.
There was a lot of natural chemistry between those two because there was that natural attraction. Not to say it, because I think Jeri Ryan was already married to that actor, director, what's his face?
She was married to a politician.
Who, Andrea or Jeri?
Oh, sorry, no, Jeri.
I thought she was married to the guy that
Paul Ryan.
Oh, I don't know. Was she?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think so. I think that's who she was married to.
I thought she was married to the guy that created things like Ally McBeal and Boston Legal, the actor, the director.
Let's see if she was married to a fellow.
What was his name? Not an actor,
person in the business. No, she was definitely married to. Okay, Jack Ryan is who he was, not Paul Ryan.
Jack, okay.
And he was involved he was kind of a scandalous thing. He fell from grace. Okay. And then she's since remarried, but that's who she was married to. No actor, guys.
What about director? Who's her current husband?
His name, I know him as Chef Eam on Twitter.
Okay.
He's a French master chef who runs a few restaurants in LA.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Christopher Eam.
I think that would have been an interesting choice. Maybe I should Photoshop these choices.
I think you need to Photoshop. This is what would really get you the clicks and the views and the likes is Photoshop Ivanova and Jeri Ryan as Talia kissing.
I have to find the right angle, but there's plenty of angles.
I mean, that's what Photoshop was really created for, right?
Right.
Yes.
to put the fake news out there.
That's right.
The Night Watch news, the ISN under Clark's news. That kind of
There you
thing.
go.
Right.
Scandal, scandal, scandal.
Super cool exercise though, right?
Totally fun. Yes, this was great. I always love doing lists too, because you have to keep it concise. So you have to narrow down your picks. You can only go with good choices. And I mean, in the realm of possibility between Star Trek universe and the Babylon 5 universe, there's a lot to freaking choose from. I don't know about you, but I had several ideas that have not made this list.
Yeah, I had kind of like an honorable mention, like who's who, and maybe we'll pick this up like in a different show. But I wanted to get to some of the comments here because there's some.
Yeah, let's wrap up with them.
So John Bowersock says Aaron Eisenberg is Nog. Does he have a fit in the Babylon 5 universe?
That's what I would like to know. Yeah, what kind of character would you like him to play? Because, I mean, there's no Ferengi on Babylon 5, but that's not to say he could be somebody else.
On the spot, since you're recasting certain characters or even guest star characters, where do you think he would fit, or how do you think he would fit? You know what? Do you remember that character that he was a telepath and he was in Down Below and he had a little bit of kind of like a disorder, and he was talking about
was it the guy with PTSD who Garibaldi recognized as a ground pounder?
No, he was.
He was played by Dwight Schultz, another Trek crossover.
Oh no!
Okay, not that guy.
I like that episode. No, it was there was a guy that was one of Garibaldi's informants, and then he was killed. And then there were a bunch of like hidden telepaths like in Down Below.
The guy who was leading those guys?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You know what I really liked about the guy who did play him was he's a working actor and he's a guy who has Down syndrome.
Yes. And I was wondering if that would be like, like not to say that there's any similarity there between him and Aaron, obviously, but there is. It's like that role where you're like, oh, that's Aaron Eisenberg, like in that role. And it's people rarely ever saw him out of the Nog makeup.
It's true. So yeah, he has I don't want to say an unusual look, but he is distinct, both in voice and in how he looks out of makeup. It would be an interesting thing, though, to have him play a role outside of makeup, just because we saw him in Star Trek with all the prosthetics.
Also, he could have played Mac in Mac and Bo.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Right?
Now, I'm not sure. I think I would prefer him as Mac.
Yeah, Mac.
I could see him and the guy who played Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly short guy, fairly tall guy. The Odd Couple, yeah.
So you could have like Aaron Eisenberg play Mac, and you can have like Eric LaSalle. He's an actor from the 90s. He was in ER. He was in Coming to America. He was the Prince of Soulglow as Bo.
I bet I've seen him. I have no idea who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, you're totally kidding. Yeah, I'm like digging deep. I'm one of my favorite things to do. One of my great favorite pastimes is there was as a comic book artist from my former trade. There was a magazine out there originally in the 1990s called Wizard Magazine, and they used to do this thing called Casting Call, and it was a 2-page spread, 3-page spread of if something happened, they would challenge like their readers to submit any type of like recommendations for acting, right?
Interesting.
So when I was in school, all of us played casting calls, and all of a sudden we'll like drop like, okay, who would play the next Conan? If Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't play Conan, or who would play, if Star Wars was remade, who would play so and so? If Star Trek was ever remade, who would ever play Captain Kirk again? Chris Pine.
Chris Pine.
Correct that nonsense.
We know that now. That's great though. It is a fun exercise to just think about what if. We're not at all serious about it, but that's the fun of it. It's all hypothetical.
I'd love to do a show on if you had to recast Babylon 5, you would have to do it from the era, or we could talk about and have to do our research on it, but we would talk about which actors were up for the roles originally. Right, that didn't accept the roles, or take a look at
and maybe who auditioned.
You can ask Terry Jones like who auditioned for the roles,
If anybody knows, it's got to be him.
Because that's some deep archival stuff, and I don't think I have the access to that type of material.
Yeah, and I don't think that's anything you'll find on Lurkers, at least not in great detail. So, anybody out there who can help us out, maybe that's a topic we tackle.
So that could be cool.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff for the possibility of the next episode. Also, one thing that I've always wanted to talk about is that if we got another Babylon 5 series, why not animated?
Right? It would take care of that special effects budget. And I mean, we could get people to, play voices of those who have gone. Close enough.
I'm just saying there are great projects out there that continue the legacy of series gone by, and Big Finish Audio Productions. They take on Doctor Who and they bring on the doctors from years past that are way older now, but they recycle those actors, all the actors, not just the doctors, but their cast, their surviving casts, and all of the characters that may have made a guest appearance that were influential to the story. I always wanted to hear or see a project that involved our beloved actors, surviving actors from Babylon 5. I mean, I would love to have Bruce Boxleitner and Mara Furlan and Claudia, all do like a story maybe on audiobook. I am so
that would be amazing because they've all got fantastic voices for that sort of thing. Oh man.
Anyhow.
Yeah, if only Warner Brothers could get their you-know-what together and treat Babylon 5 as the amazing franchise it is and give us some new content. I know that we could make some things happen, but that has to change first.
All righty, well, before we just kind of fall into and down the rabbit hole of digression, that was a fun show. Sure, I love that show.
It's a fun show. Yeah, we got some great comments, great suggestions. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate it. We didn't get to every single little thing, but we're already over time. So, Norm, where can people find you on the internet if they want to talk to you about any of this, on anything about Babylon 5 or just whatever?
Well, you can always find me on the Facebook page, on the ZócaloCast on Facebook. You can always find me do the postings on Twitter at ZócaloCast on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yes, you are good at promoting the show, sir. I appreciate it. The one and only place you can find me usually is on Twitter. My handle is the Profanity. I do pop into the Facebook group every now and again. If you really, really, really want me to see something on there, tag me. Otherwise, it's just kind of, I'm a little wishy-washy on Facebook. It's not my favorite thing, but you know this if you've heard me in weeks past. So I will shut it.
Facebook is what it is. It's not my favorite all the time, but it's what I have to work with.
It's still like the most regular users every month out of any other platform right now. So I get it, but that's how I feel about it.
But if you like what you're watching here on YouTube, and Char and I think we're kind of improving the quality of these shows, like every single show, please make sure that you subscribe, and make sure that you click on the bell icon so that you know when the next show is going to be happening. Please make sure that if you like what we're doing here, make sure that you share that amongst your friends, because this is how social media works when it works right. And all we're really trying to do is give people the opportunity to sit back, relax for an hour, and just listen to two people talk about their passions for Babylon 5 and share that with all of you. That's all we really want to do, because we love Babylon 5 that much.
Right. And if you're willing to spend an hour with us, we know that you love Babylon 5 too. And it's all about building this community. So Let's keep building it.
And we're doing really well. We're over 220 followers on Facebook. So if each one of those followers can invite a friend or make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel, then we can keep growing and growing and growing and get more influence here as we build our show. So that's not our goal.
Spiel.
That's not our end goal to make the show the biggest show of all time on YouTube, but we do want to make that community something that is very attractive for Babylon 5 fans to come home to.
Yeah. We want you to know that you're not alone out there.
In the night.
Ha! Yes.
So until next time, we will get our next show notes up there on the Facebook page and on Twitter and on Instagram. But until then, thanks everybody for joining us here on the ZócaloCast here on YouTube. And until next week, be seeing ya.
Bye.
We're out.